Hey everyone, Filmmaking here, and today we're talking about lights. In this video, I want to share the lighting kit that I currently have and use for my documentary work, but also for YouTube. I will discuss why I decided to get these specific lights for the type of work that I do, as well as give you tips to start building your own kit. Before I start, be sure to subscribe to see more videos like this one, and let's get into it. Before I really get into the actual kit, I think it's important to give you a bit of context in terms of the type of work that I do. Lighting is not something that I talk about a lot on this channel, aside from my cinematography breakdowns. The main reason for that is that I actually shoot most of my content using natural light. However, for many of my short documentaries or commercial work, there is often an interview part or a few scenes that require to control the lighting or add some, either for creative purposes or by necessity. As you know, I also shoot a lot of product reviews for this channel, and so lights for this type of studio and control shooting are essential. And I of course use lights for my YouTube talking head setup. Even though I collaborate with other filmmakers on jobs, I mostly work as a solo shooter, and also happen to travel quite a bit, which has an impact on how I choose my lights as well. These days I do own a full lighting kit that allows me to shoot pretty much any types of projects that I either do solo or as part of a small crew. And in this video, I will talk about the different lights that make up that kit and why I pick them. And as always, you can find all the gear listed in the description below. All the lights that make up my kit are from the brand Nanlite. I first started using Nanlite about a year ago when they helped me out on the cycling documentary I made about my grandfather. This short documentary was extremely well received, and having the proper gear really made a difference, and lights were of course essential. Not only for the interview scenes, but also for the creative ones and when we simply needed more level. I started with 2 main lights and 2 tubes that were suited for that specific documentary, but earlier this year I decided to add a few more lights so I would have a complete kit that covered all bases for my documentary work, but I could also be useful for YouTube. Now let's break down my kit. I won't go too much into the specs of each light, otherwise this video would be way too long. Instead, I want to focus on the main features, why I picked these lights, and how they fit together. I decided to use Nanlite as I genuinely like their products and bought their lights before I even worked with them, but this doesn't mean that you cannot build a similar kit using another brand, of course. I really do think that Nanlite creates great value products that are useful and versatile. They also have loads of accessories and keep releasing new and interesting lights for us filmmakers. Forza 300B Mark II, the main light. The 300B Mark II is the most powerful light I own. It is the one we use for all of the interview frames in a cycling documentary, for example. And just to give you an idea in terms of its power, this was just on 1%. Here are some of the main specs. I will do that for each of the lights so you can pause and get a glimpse of their main specs and features. This light is more than powerful enough for talking heads, but also to fully light small to medium-sized rooms. As a tip, always get the most powerful light you can for your kit, as you can always dim it down. In addition to the impressive power, the 300B is also bicolor, which is extremely useful. This means you can really adjust the color temperature to your surroundings or creative needs. This light is also very well made and can be powered via mains or V-locks, which can be handy depending on the space. This is not a compact beginner light, it is a pretty serious one with a solid control unit and overall feel. As with most Nanlite lights, you can also control it with the app, which adds another layer of flexibility. There's a huge amount of settings to fully dial it to your needs, and you also have loads of effects. On top of that, you can also adjust and tune the green and magenta shift to have an accurate color representation. And since it features a balanced mount, you can add different accessories. I often use it in combination with a 90cm softbox. I also have a rectangle one and a lantern. Despite the impressive output, I can still power the 300B with a V-lock battery like these Nanlite ones. And it comes in a very sturdy and handy case for transport and storage. The FS150B, the everyday light. This is essentially a smaller and more streamlined version of the 300B Mark II. Here are a few specs. The 150B is still powerful enough to act as a key for interviews, like we did for the blacksmith documentary. Since it had a smaller footprint than the 300B, it was quicker and easier to use the 150 in a small space. You still have a high quality light with plenty of adjustable settings and effects, and it is also bicolor. In my opinion, always try to get bicolor lights when you can, as it allows for more flexibility, and the prices in recent years have come down a lot. The 150B also features the same mount, so you can swap the accessories with a 300B for example. And thanks to its size and weight, it's not too bulky and heavy to carry around. I think this type of power would be a great first light for anyone looking into building a standard lighting kit. It can work as a key as I just mentioned, but also as a fill next to a bigger light like a 300B or something even more powerful. This is also the light that I use for my product shots on YouTube and my talking head setup. Because of its great mix of power, size, price and features, this is a light that can work for all kinds of situations in a professional space or small studios. The PavoSlim 60C, the travel light. The PavoSlim 60C is the latest addition to my kit. Since the other two lights are still proper fixtures with a traditional shape and ways to function and operate, I wanted a light that would be more flexible. Flexible in a way that it could still be part of my kit, but one that would also add something by being easily transportable and offering even more options when it comes to colors. This is an RGB panel. You can have access to a full range of colors, but it also means that you have effects not found on the previous two lights. You have different modes as well, such as RGB, gel, and the always useful green magenta shift. And again, all of that can be controlled just from your phone. This PavoSlim is super easy and quick to set up. The clever mounting plate system means you can get it ready in seconds, and you've got everything that you need in a case for different scenarios. Its size and weight also makes it a great travel light, and the reason I wanted this one in particular. The light itself weighs less than a kilo, and the control unit just over 1.3 kilos. It is also ridiculously thin. The light itself is less than 2 centimeters. I think the most surprising feature of this light for me is a built-in softbox. It is super easy to open and close and doesn't have to be added or carried separately. Mounting traditional modifiers can be a pain, stressful, and time-consuming. This system is quite brilliant and one of the biggest strengths of this light. As a solo shooter, this is a very useful and important feature. I also love the fact that you can power it via cheap NPF batteries and also V-locks, as this means I can actually use it outside if I want to, or put it in different spots in a space without having to worry about cables. You can actually carry the whole setup if you want to very easily. In terms of power, it is quite impressive for its size as well. It's always hard to get an idea via YouTube about power, so here's my usual YouTube talking head setup with a 150 and a softbox, and with a 60C to compare, as well as a quick gear review style shot. You can definitely use this as fill or for product shoots of course, but if you had to, it would be also enough to light a person's face, either for a close interview or outside to add a bit of level. Personally, it is a light that I can use also for close-ups for documentary work, such as hands or specific detail. I can combine it with a 300 and a 150, or just bring it on its own in case I am not too sure I need to use a light for the specific shoot. There is a bigger version, but since you can unfold this type of lights, I prefer to get the smaller one, and it still outputs a surprising amount of power. This light adds a lot of new features and variety to my kit. It is one that is always packed and ready to go. With a supplied case, you have a pretty small, versatile, and lightweight setup that you can carry pretty much anywhere. The Pavo tubes, the creative lights. I always wanted to get tubes and I wish that I had done it sooner. These Pavo tubes are high quality RGB lights. They have been extremely handy for my documentary and YouTube content. I have two 15Cs which are 2 foot, and one of the 6C that is 1 foot long. For the cycling documentary, we use them as backlight and hairlight during the interviews, but also as the only lights for scenes like the bedroom one and the one with the stairs. During the blacksmith doco, we used them to add a bit of light on our subject, or for specific parts of the workshop. We couldn't use any other light inside the space because it was too small, so we hung them above and it worked very well. I first got these lights as backup, but we quickly realized the potential and the flexibility, and today I rarely go on a shoot without one at least. They work great as fill or backlights, but also as key if you have someone holding one super close to the subject. Aside from hanging them or holding them, I have a few accessories like a tripod holder and a clamp, so I can use them like traditional fixtures too. You can even add an egg crate and barn doors to control the spill. We've used gaff tape on some of the shots for the documentaries, but this is a more permanent and higher quality option, of course. These tubes are also a great way to get creative and experiment with lighting setups. You can find pretty much the same effects and modes you have on the Power Slim. The HSI mode is also quite useful. They also last quite a long time on their batteries, and I don't remember having to charge them for hours. For YouTube, I use them in a more creative way, just to add something in the background rather than actually lighting myself. But it does make a difference. I also recently added the mini version of them, the 6C. I use this one for Zoom calls, and it is also one that is always in my bag just in case I need a small light somewhere. It can be on the desk or under a cupboard, or pretty much anywhere you want, and it even features a magnetic end to attach it on metal. It's also one that I can use in the back of my car when it gets dark, when I'm actually packing or changing lenses or anything like that. For outdoor work, it is so small that it can easily be carried, and so it is quite useful. And for its size, it still is very powerful. The PowerBulb 10C, the practical light. This bulb is a kind of light that you might not use very often, but that can be very handy and essential in some cases. This light basically replaces a traditional house bulb by adding the flexibility of a filmmaking light. This means you can adjust and control it in the same way that you would a big fixture, but it still looks like a practical one. For example, we used this type of lights during this scene, as we needed the practical to stay in the shot for its warmth, but we needed more power in order to compete with the outdoor natural light. This light also allows you to add more or less light from a practical source, or to match the practical to the rest of the lights around. And in some cases, traditional bulbs can also introduce flickering, so using a light like this one should eliminate this issue. This bulb is also RGB WW, and also features effects that can be controlled via the app, so once it is placed you don't have to worry about it. This is similar to the tubes. You can also actually get it in a pack of 4 or 12 for even more creative options and control. And on top of that, it is very easy to use, carry and charge. In my opinion, it is always a good idea to have one of these, as you never entirely know the spaces you'll be shooting in, and pretty much all interiors have practicals that can add something to the scene and the final image. As with cameras and lenses, get the kit that works for you. Today I'm talking about and sharing the kit that I built based on my needs and the work that I create. You need to get the lights that will serve you best, and whilst lighting kits can follow the same principles across different genres, they are vastly different depending on the project and the size of the production team. Think about what you need in terms of output, color temperature, functions, weight and size, as well as power supply options. A kit will also differ depending on what stage of your career you're at and the budget you are able to allocate towards it. And if you can, rent or try them out before. Renting versus buying is a topic that always comes back in filmmaking, and I personally think it is about balance. Again, the same way that it is with cameras and lenses. Balance between what you can afford and how much you use it. For example, I feel like a small to medium power light at a 150 is great to own. It is affordable, the output is very usable for a wide variety of projects, and on top of that, it is bicolor and even has effects built in. You can use it as key for small interviews, product shots, or you can use it as fill when working on bigger projects. If I had one size of light to pick, it would probably be it. There are also plenty of new products coming out each year for that similar power output. If you already own a small light, then by all means get something like the 300B Mark II, as you can always dim it down so you gain in flexibility. Any lights above the 300B Mark II are much larger and expensive and are better suited to studio or commercial work. There would be lights that I would rent rather than buy in my case. Again, this is just me. If you run a full production team and can afford them, then go for it. Or if the content that you shoot always needs huge outputs of light, such as extreme slow motion, recreating sunlight, shooting through large windows, or studio work, then by all means get them instead. So to summarize, 1. Build a lighting kit around your own work and needs. 2. Always get more power if you're hesitating between two lights. 3. Prioritize flexibility and versatility, such as getting a bicolor lights for example. 4. Don't forget about accessories. This includes softboxes, holders, power options, etc. Number 5. Stick with one brand. Not only to get the same quality and type of light, but also for ease of use like having the app. In my opinion, having an app like this one is one of the big reasons to have just one brand for an entire lighting kit. It makes things very easy and very quick. Lighting is not just about the actual lights as well. In order to shape and control a light, you also need negs and all sorts of modifiers. And of course, an understanding of cinematography is essential. But hopefully this gave you an insight on the type of lights that I use, how and why. That's it for me for today guys. Let me know if you've got any questions. A big thanks to Nanlite for helping me out with this kit over the past year or so. I really appreciate the support. Feel free to check out their website for more info on these lights and others. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to subscribe, and let me know as well in the comments what type of lights you currently own. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Also, feel free to check out my 2 ebooks, Freelance Documentary Filmmaking and Travel Cinematography, where you can find a streamlined but comprehensive overview from pre-production all the way to marketing, built on years of my own experience shooting short documentaries and travel videos around the world. And if you are interested, I'm also doing filmmaking mentoring sessions when you can ask me anything about a wide variety of topics.